Would you please welcome Mother Anne Marie Zierke.
Hello, my name is Mother Anne Marie, and I'd just like to take a moment to say thank you all for being here. I know that there are many other opportunities and things and things that could keep you busy and away from here, but your dedication to what the Serra Club is doing really speaks a lot for your presence here. I know our religious community has benefited tremendously from our local conference, and it's been a wonderful relationship. And so I just want to share a little bit about who we are as Marian sisters and where we are and what you can do to help pray for us. So the Marian Sisters of the Diocese of Lincoln were a small diocesan religious community founded in 1954. Our sisters originally escaped communism in the Czech Republic and landed here in Lincoln because the bishop here was of Czech descent, and there were many Czech people. And so the two foundresses, Sister Marta and Sister Teresa, were 28 and 32 when they were asked to escape their country. And I remember being 28 and 32 and thinking, what have I done with my life? And I think you can now talk to a 28-year-old and a 32-year-old and say, what is God calling you to do? I know we're in different times, but they were truly tremendous and courageous women. And that has had a really profound effect on our community. So the charism of our community, the gift that we have been founded with, is to do God's will joyfully in imitation of Mary and St. Francis. So we're a Franciscan community because that's what Sister Marta and Sister Teresa were when they were sisters back in the Czech Republic. And really they've always focused on doing God's will. Asked to escape a country, asked to, they were in the orphanage, taking care of children. That was not their background. They were nurses. But they just always did God's will. And as Francis would, they did it with a sense of joy. And so that's what we try to impart upon any of our apostolic endeavors. And that's what we look for in the vocations or the women that are interested in our community. It's a real openness to doing God's will and doing it joyfully. So we really are open to a lot of apostolic things. We say nursing, what do we say? Healthcare, social work, and education, which incorporates just about everything that the church does. So we have sisters who work in schools as secretaries, as well as teachers and administrators. We staff a home for women escaping abuse, St. Gianna's Women's Home here in Lincoln. We have sisters who are receiving their education, like we said, at Benedictine College, where I graduated from. And we have sisters who are nurses working in Catholic institutions, both in just a Catholic doctor's office, but also a heart hospital that is a Catholic. So we try to cover the board, and we are definitely spread very thin. As you know, the need is so great in the church. But we are getting vocations. We have one novice, five juniors. How many? 6, sorry. I'm here with our junior director, Sister Serena. She's in the back. We have 6 junior sisters. We'll have a first vow. We just had first vows this summer. We'll have a final vows next summer. And our community is unique. I was just speaking with some people. It's unique in that we're not all young. Because we were founded in 1954, many of us knew our foundress. I knew our foundresses, Sister Marta and Sister Teresa. Maybe not in their heydays, but as they were slowing down. And we have 6 sisters who have since passed. So we all live together. We don't have a separate house for our novices or a separate house for our older sisters. And so when a young woman enters, she gets to experience all ages of religious life and see what it looks like to be a junior sister in temporary vows, as well as an older sister who's slowing down and just learning to kind of be more contemplative in her religious vocation. And I think that's something very unique that we have as Marian sisters. But we, in our formation, it has definitely changed. I think about my own time in formation. I entered the convent relatively young. I won't say relatively, it was young. I was 18 when I entered. I came right out of high school. And that is not really heard of these days. There's a lot of formation that happens in the world that is necessary for women to discern their own vocation. As you may have heard or you know, that there's just a lot of formation that happens in the family. That maybe isn't happening like it did in the past, but I know I received most of my formation in the family. As they say, it's the first seminary, it's the first convent. So when we get young women, the journey is a little longer than it used to be, but we work with them and we walk with them. We encourage them right away to get spiritual directors. And there's a real beauty about spiritual direction that is taking off. A lot of lay women, lay men, deacons in the church, sisters, not just priests, but a lot of people receiving spiritual direction. So we ask them to get authentic, really good spiritual directors. Once they enter, we take them through a lot of healing. Bob shoots through the JP2 Institute, healing the whole person, restoring the glory. These are really important things to heal the past so that they can work through and give themselves wholly in the present. 30-day Ignatian retreats are really important. We have them do 8-day retreats as well as a 30-day silent retreat. It's intense, but it is very good, and we find it to be very, very fruitful. We're also open to just exploring what their needs are currently. Most recently, with our youngest group of junior sisters, we were experiencing a lot of issues with mother wounds, and how they related to their mother. And as brides of Christ, we represent a lot of mothers and motherhood and spiritual motherhood, and we're Marian sisters as the mother of Christ. So we prayed and discerned that it was really important for our sisters to have a good relationship with Mary as their mother. And so we prayed and discerned and did a lot of research and study and took our junior sisters on a pilgrimage to Fatima and Lourdes and Medjugorje to meet our mother where she has appeared. And so that we found was very fruitful. And the wonderful thing is when they come back on fire, we come back on fire. So we get all of those graces. And when they are strong and healthy vocations, our vocation flourishes. And it really is beautiful. We were blessed to be able to fundraise that. And so it wasn't an extra burden on the sisters. And so we reached out to a lot of different groups and different people, and they were so willing to be able to help in that cause. Once our sisters do make their vows and live in community, they get the opportunity to serve the poor, teach catechism, teach CCD, which by this point they're just excited to get back out there, and they are very excited for those things. So when I was praying about what Aaron and the group asked me to talk about was, what do we do to help form the women? And what we found is it's easy for us when we have an entrance group of 2 or 3 to really hone in on what their needs are. But what we found is we get what we pour into the community, into the world. And so when they come to us with needs of like their mother's wounds, or they don't have a good family life, or they don't have a good prayer life, well, where does that start? And so we said, can we supply the local community and broader with those things so that they can better discern their vocation? And so we have really taken the opportunity to foster encounters with Christ at every stage of young people's lives. What we have found is that it's really important to integrate it into where they are. Oftentimes, you know the story of the Transfiguration. Wouldn't it be great to just keep the tent, put the booth on the mountain, and stay up there? Your vocation seemed so clear on that retreat when you went to visit, but then you went home and things got muddied. So we really try to focus on where they are Just meet them in their own human formation so that they can authentically continue to grow and encounter Christ where they are and not have it be an away experience. Those things are great and those things are wonderful. But how do we incorporate good, healthy growth? So right now at the Mother House, we have 55 second through fifth graders and their dads came out for Father-Daughter Day, which is an event that we've been running for 15 years or so. So those young girls are forming how they view God the Father by their relationship with their Father. So we like to provide an opportunity for them to encounter Christ, to have fun, and to be with their Father. One of the things that the dads are going to do today is learn how to affirm their daughters in who they are. So not only are we giving talks to the girls, we're giving talks to the dads. Because no offense, dads, but when you look at your little 5-year-old fifth grader, you're just like, I don't know how to affirm you, And so moms, it comes natural. Oftentimes people ask us, why do you do all this father-daughter stuff? What about moms? And I think there's just more opportunities for moms to do it naturally. So we like to create a space for dads to do it. So we bring out a speaker and we'll talk to the dads, talk to the girls, do crafts together, do games. Someone usually gets injured. Hint, it's not one of the young girls. So, but it really is a good time. So when they're searching for their identity of who they are in God the Father's eyes, they will first get it from their own Father. So we try to create that experience. And that really kind of leads into another thing we run called Marian Camp. It's a camp for 5th through 8th grade girls that we run for 1 week in the summer. And it's based on who we are as Marian sisters. 4-year cycle. We do 1 year on Mary, 1 year on Francis, 1 year on Joy, and 1 year on doing God's will. And they get to bring their dads if they want. The dads can come. They do a great job of doing the heavy lifting for us. But it's really at this time, 5th through 8th grade, where they're looking at their peers and they want to be incorporated. They want to be part of the group. They want to do what their friends are doing. And so if we can help create healthy friendships for them in a good environment, we find that then they are more secure in who they are. We teach them how to pray. Teach them how to pray with each other. They do our prayers. We have liturgy of the hours, talks, as well as water games and skits, and just a lot of fun. Again, usually someone gets hurt, but it's not one of the girls. So in that, from that has developed a real strong bond with the dads on that retreat. They are able to communicate with each other about where they stand in raising girls and really helping them in the future. We have counselors that help with that, college age, high school age, and again, they create a bond and they do a really good job of, again, forming them and how to be good examples to the younger women. And it really has been formation. We bring them in ahead of time and we talk about modesty and we talk about how to correct a young girl, or how to handle conflict with each other. And then they get to just be with the sisters, which is always a bonus, and we really just love to be with them. From that also flows opportunities for women to be with us in a church liturgical setting. So we run a Holy Week retreat where women can come and experience the Triduum with the sisters. They get their own priest who comes and gives talks, and they can experience that. Again, it's an opportunity for them to experience something that they could do on their own. The Triduum is every year, and so they can remember that experience they had at the Sisters Holy Week retreat and continue to foster their relationship wherever their vocation might take them. And then we also work a lot with our Newman Center and a lot of local colleges, UNO and Creighton, to help teach them how to pray. They all want spiritual direction and they all want guidance, but really if you're not praying, if you don't have a good prayer life, we can't really, it turns into kind of a counseling session, which we're not necessarily trained for. So we ask them, we offer classes in prayer. just kind of give them a boost on how to pray. Our sisters are trained. We get trained for spiritual direction and what that looks like and what that should look like within the church. And then there's another opportunity that has been really fruitful for us and really helpful, and it's called the Fiat Retreat. It's a ministry out of Wichita, Kansas, and I heard that there's some Wichita people here, so that's exciting. So there's a ministry out of that, and what it kind of stemmed from, and I'm sure Sister can correct me, but there used to be nun runs. You get a busload of girls on college spring break and you take them to the local convent, and maybe they hit 2 or 3 convents in a spring break, and they get to experience different religious life and different modes of religious life. Well, the convents now are farther and farther apart and fewer that the girls can visit. So we bring the sisters to them, to the diocese, to wherever they are. And I know a lot of your vocational focus is on seminarians and priests and priesthood. So if a young woman were to go to your local vocation director and say, I'm thinking about a religious life, would they know what to do? Would they have the tools? Would they know where to send her or how to speak to her? And so this Fiat ministry will bring in 4 or 5 different religious orders from all across the country, and they're good, solid religious orders, wearing the habit, faithful to the magisterium, receiving young women, giving them good formation, and they usually bring 2 or 3 from each community, and they will bring them to that place. We've done them in Minnesota, Georgia, Carolinas, Wichita, of course, and Nebraska. Just last weekend, we were in Norfolk, and so we bring them to the diocese. And then another beautiful thing about that is we can sometimes come early and visit the local Catholic school or local Catholic grade school, so they'll get exposure to religious there. Now, those retreats are fruitful. I know they've been very fruitful for us and fruitful for other religious communities. The sisters interact beautifully, and the women just get to see that, get to see religious kind of interacting with other religious. It takes about $10,000 to $15,000 just to put on a retreat like that. We usually have to ask for host families to host the sisters or to pick them up from airports and things. Many dioceses have beautiful retreat centers, and those are things that we need to invest in so that we have a place to run those types of retreats. I know we utilize Camp Kateri for our camp, but the idea that maybe we would run our camp someplace else would be a thought. It would be something that we're interested. Usually our camp fills up in about 10 to 15 minutes when we do online registration, 2 camps of 75 girls. So it's a real need and a real desire. It's just we don't often have the personnel or the space to run those things. So we know, like I said, we know that the need is out there and the desire is out there. Our community is unique, like I said, just in its scope of age and ability. We are growing, and we're open to what the Holy Spirit is asking of us. I think it's really important to just encounter these girls, these families where they are, and really kind of help them to grow and connect. So it doesn't have to be this experience I had once upon a time someplace, and then I have to go back to, quote, the real world. But it is something that we're growing in constantly in our own growth for holiness. So again, I'm super grateful for your presence. We are extremely grateful for your support. Right now, our local Serra Club is helping us build a retaining wall, and we are just so grateful for their help there. We just had a Eucharistic conference, and they helped serve our lunch, and it was beautiful. We'll have a Sister Appreciation Day next month, and so I know that your support is there, and we can definitely feel it. It is very palpable. So I know you have heard about all the problems recently. I just came to offer a couple solutions about what we see and what we do. I know that they took some questions, so I am open for that. If anyone has any questions or thoughts about religious life in general or what our community does or sees. So the habit is really essential to who we are as religious. In the history of the church, it has kind of ebbed and flowed. And if you look at the documents, it says wear the garb of the poor people, which is why Mother Teresa wears what she wears. That is the garb of the poor people. But when she comes here to the United States, she still wears that. So it's very distinct. And that is the other aspect of our habit. It's not only so we can identify with the poor, but be distinct. Uniforms are so important. Sports, work, school. So if it's important in a secular aspect like that, how much more important is it in our religious life? Think about the priests and what they wear and how that sets them apart. So we see that in the history of the church, and we know that. Now, like I said, there's been ebbs and flows, and with the Second Vatican Council, it was encouraged, to experiment and try different things, and we were there. We were founded in 1954. We were on the cusp of that. We went from the big habit and everything covered to much more simplified, much more secular, and have kind of landed here, I think, which is a happy medium of the church. We also found that that's what young women want. If you're going to give your life to someone, you want a ring, right? You want everyone to know you're engaged. You want everyone to know that you're married. So if you are dedicated and giving your life completely to Christ, that outward sign is so important to us. And so that's why we chose to wear our habit. We wear gray because we're Franciscan. Now, if you talk to any other Franciscans, you can fight about that color. You know how it goes. So that's how that is. He asked about leadership, women's leadership in the church, and how we see that happening. I think that we look to what the church has done in the past. There are many women saints who are great examples of leadership in the church. Like I mentioned, Mother Teresa. I think of Mother Angelica and her motivation and what she did. If you look at even the founding of the United States and the school system and the hospital system and what women did, the interesting thing about women and who we are is we often don't crave the recognition. We just see a need and do it. So Sister Marta and Sister Teresa, our foundresses, never craved recognition for founding a new community. They saw a need, they asked, and they did it. Now, I'm not saying men crave the recognition, but it's just the difference that the Lord has placed in us. So as far as women's leadership in the church, while I appreciate maybe efforts that the Holy Father is doing to make it more overt, I don't see it in the long run being necessary. We're always going to do we're always going to see a need, and we're always going to fulfill it, whether or not it's a formalized place in the church or not. Yes. Our website is mariansisters.org. Because we're hip with the times, we also have Facebook and Instagram. Same address, Marian Sisters. The young sisters keep me on my toes. How did I feel called? The Lord, right? It really did come down to do my will, and I had to say yes. Two things. Like I said, I was really formed in my family. So to see my parents discern and be active in the church, saying yes to little things made it easier to say yes to big things. So helping with the retreat, praying the family rosary, living liturgically, Lent, Advent, those types of things really helped form me, as well as relationships with our local priests and sisters. The Benedictine sisters from Yankton, South Dakota, taught in my grade school, and they were very formative. So really family formation was a true blessing for me, as well as our sisters taught in my high school. So I got to see them and encounter them and see their joy, and it really was infectious. Like I said, the Benedictines from Yankton taught me, but they didn't wear a habit. And I thought, oh, but I really, really want to wear a habit. And so I saw our sisters in habit, and I saw the joy that they had. And it really was just like coming home when I went to visit them, just really feeling an at-home spirit, which is something very common that we hear from girls that visit us. We just felt at home, which we're okay with. Yeah. Yes. We currently have 39 sisters. Our oldest is 87, and our youngest is 22, and a little bit of everything in between. Yeah. So our mother house is in Waverly, Nebraska. It is just north of Lincoln on your way out of town on the interstate. If you've ever made a retreat at Our Lady of Good Counsel Retreat House, we are at the top of the hill. So we are in a rural area, and we really do love it. So also on our grounds is a boarding school that we help run for special education students. So Villa Marie School, and we also help with their special education program. All right, this is just my last opportunity again to say thank you and to reach out to your vocation directors with a particular plea for women religious, and to say that you heard about this thing and you really want to help and you want to get religious women the support that they need. So I do appreciate everything that you have done and are doing, and especially your presence. So thank you, and God bless you.